Okay, so good evening once again. How are you doing, my people? I hope you are doing fine. So, I want us to start as I had promised. So, first of all, I hope first of all I'm audible enough. You can just confirm that once again so that I can be sure of that. Okay, thanks, Nusra, for that. So, let me now continue. So, what I want to do is, I just want to introduce the club a little bit so that for those who are new here, so that they can understand something small about the club before I give the speaker a chance to talk. So basically, this is the ARC Club, which in full is the AI and Robotics Club, uh, which has been which has been pioneered at the University of Eldoret. And I want to tell you the reason why we came up with this club. So first of all, our motto is this, that is innovate, create, and transform. Because what we want to do with the club is we want to empower people, that is students, even professionals with the skills. The skills now in this particular case will enable them to have the know-how. Then from that, they'll now be able to come up with ideas, which is now the thing about innovation. Then after now coming up with the ideas, you create something that will now transform our lives. So that's the basic thing about it. Then the mission for the club is to empower students basically with skills, like I had mentioned, basically in the fields of AI, robotics, and even other emerging technologies. Yeah, we are not limiting ourselves to just AI and robotics. Then our vision basically is to be a world-class epicenter of inclusive innovation, where the next generation of global tech leaders masters AI and robotics to solve humanity's most pressing challenges. So what we want to do is we want to enable, like, we have a world that there are solutions that actually come. There are solutions that actually come basically from, that is with the now in the in integration of AI and robotics. Yeah, we can come up with solutions that will help us. So basically that's it. So let me just say something about the objectives of the club. So, okay, one of the objectives is what I had mentioned before. We want to equip people with skills. Yeah, we want to equip our members with skills. Yeah, we want to equip our members with skills. That's the first one. Then we also want to, what we'll do, because we've pioneered it at the University of Eldoret, we may soon enough we'll have the inter-school innovation competitions where we'll invite other schools. We can have an innovation competition where they can come and showcase what they have. We can also showcase what we'll have by then and compete. Yeah, of course we'll get winners from that, and it will actually enable us to even have more ideas to develop our problem solving skills. Yeah, things like that. Then we'll also offer free AI and robotics bootcamps to students. Basically, it will be free for our club members, and we'll be organizing that, and we'll tell you the dates for that. So that's also one of our objectives. Then we want to create a network of mentors, trainers, and even innovators, because and that's why we are partnering with companies, other clubs, so as to ensure that we incorporate even professionals in the field so that they can come and help us. That is now the connections, the network that we want, so that at the end of the day we'll we'll be nurturing our members with the skills. Then they'll receive now guidance from now these experts, and yeah, that way. Then later on, of course, we'll come up with innovations as a club as well as individuals. So what we'll do, we'll link up, that is the startups, with institutions that will aid in funding the startups, so that the startups can be taken like out now into the world. Yeah. So those are actually some of the objectives of the club. So I can maybe mention something here, as I'm almost finishing, about the club, something small that I want to say. Okay, when you mention maybe AI and robotics, it usually seems that we're just focused on the tech people. But what I can say is that this club is open to anybody. Yeah, anyone, whether you're a beginner, whether you're a student, a professional, from any field. We are not limiting anyone. That's why we now have these departments. So I'll tell you like the essence of these departments. So here we have 5 departments, as you can see. The first, we have marketing. Then we have public relations, engineering department. We have researching and documenting, finance department. So briefly, maybe I can say maybe something about the departments. Now, starting with now the first one, which is now marketing department. So in this particular department, let me just say something brief about it. So they'll be helping majorly to, first of all, ensuring for brand consistency. For example, even for this event, I can give a good example for that. We actually had the flyer for the webinar. So that's one of their obligations, and handling our social media accounts, that is, and just like what they do is they also help in creating engaging content. For example, videos, graphics, for example, now the flyers. Then maintaining, that is, active engagement on social media platforms. I had mentioned that, handling now the social media platforms that we'll have. Then they'll also be collecting feedback from maybe, okay, people who have maybe attended our events, things like that, how the club is running, getting now the feedback from the people who are now getting these services, so that we can know how to better the club. So we have the second one, we have the public relations. So for this particular department, their tasks are this. For example, the first one, because I had mentioned something about the club partnership, partnering with maybe other clubs, companies, or even schools. So they'll be responsible for now building now the partnerships. They'll also be responsible for drafting official letters and emails. Yeah. Then coordinating communication with now sponsors and collaborators. For example, now coordinate, that is communication between the club and the partners. So that's just an highlight of it. Then I can talk about the engineering department. From the word engineering, you can get that for this particular department, they'll now be responsible for now the technical. Here, it's about the technical know-how. Here, this department, they'll now be going deeper and deeper into AI, robotics, and even the other emerging technologies that we'll do. They'll be helping in now, when we'll now be coming up with our projects. Of course, it will need now the technical bit of things. So they'll now be responsible for that. So that's basically about it. Then we have the researching and documenting department. So for this, they'll be documenting things for us. For example, they'll even be coming up with newsletters that will have blog posts for the club. They'll also be doing research. For example, you want to know more about something, we'll just give this department, go and research about this. They'll document their findings and bring us the answers. Yeah, they'll be doing, that's just the highlight of it. Then we have the finance department. From the word finance, of course, it's about dealing with money. So they'll now be ensuring financial accountability in the club, and also sustainability of the club, because we want the club to run itself. Okay, then they'll just be responsible for just anything revolving around funds. Yeah. So actually, I'll mention this much in details on Saturday, this Saturday, when we'll now be having our first physical event in the school. That is in NS10 for those who are around. Yeah. So it will start from 9 a.m. So we'll tell you more about this. So uh, that's basically what I had for you. Yeah, we actually have the speaker for the day uh, amongst us. So, hey Kevin, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm done. That is from my end. I don't have maybe anything to add. So, okay, what I can maybe mention before giving you, Kevin, the chance to introduce yourself, I can say that, okay, Kevin is going to present something very nice for us. Then I want you to pay keen attention to what he'll be talking about. And if you have questions, kindly take note of them and just put them in the chat. Then we'll have a Q&A session where we'll give you people a chance to ask your questions, and we'll also take some from the chat. Yeah, so that's basically it. So am now handing it over to Kevin. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Benedict. You can also confirm whether you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, sure, I can hear you clearly.
Yes, it's quite raining here in Nairobi right now. So forgive my lighting condition. Yeah, but it's quite. It's been raining here in Nairobi even right now. So at any point, if I'm not audible enough, you'll just let me know. Yeah, but thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this webinar. Before even I do my introduction, I want this to be very interactive. So anytime you can call anyone to say something. Yes, so let's have fun. Let's interact, ask questions. So I also love to know my audience. So you can use the emojis on your screen. So how many of us are very new to robotics? If you term yourself as a beginner, if you term yourself as a beginner in robotics, can you show us by raising hand? Or yeah, I'm going to use the thumbs up. Thumbs up, yeah, thumbs up. Quite a number. All right, intermediate. You've dealt with some robotics projects before. You can use the clap emoji. All right. Okay. I think you can hear the very loud thunderstorms, the background. There's I think it was the other day there's a very loud thunderstorm. People thought the world has come to an end. um, yeah, I remember one time, that was last year. We were going to Panama for a robotics competition. So we were flying using KLM. I think I looked in the map. We were just there, Turkana, passing up Ethiopia. and it was raining. And I remember there was a very bad, like severe turbulence. I've never experienced such a turbulence. And after hearing those thunderstorms from there, it was it was crazy. Start to say your final prayers. You get so scared. But that thunderstorm just reminded me of that. It was the worst turbulence I've ever felt. I felt like the plane hit some wall, bam! And we were all, it was like shaking violently. The pilot is screaming. The pilot is giving instruction. The captain is like, don't move, don't move, don't move. Make sure you're fastened to your plane. There's a lot like of panic. So it's very rare, like turbulence can do any damage, but it was very uncomfortable. Anyways, back to my introduction. So my name is Gitau Kelvin. I wear many hats. Number one, I'm super passionate about Internet of Things, robotics, just anything generally to do with STEM. And my background, I have a background in electronics engineering, but also recently I did my computer science at Zetech University. So I've combined electronics and computer science, but my key interest is usually in the areas of IoT and robotics. So I also work with a program called TME Education. Just type that in the chat box. You guys can see, visit our website or Instagram and just get an idea of what we do. So at TME Education, I am the education ambassador for Kenya. So what we do at TME Education is we offer technical training on areas of electronics, IoT. We have toolkits such as Arduino, customized Arduino kit that we use to teach physical computing and microcontroller programming and all that. We do solar technology, mobile phone repair, etc. So TME is an initiative of a company known as Transfer Multisort Electronic based in Poland, Europe. So TME education is just a way of giving back to the community. Apart from that, I'm in charge of a program called First Global Robotics Challenge. I think I also gonna type that. So at First Global, we recruit a national team each year made up of teenagers to represent the country in an international robotics competition. So that's what I'm mostly known for. So it's held in a different country each year. But okay, before I even give you more information, so for university people, you can participate as a volunteer or as a judge or as a mentor. Yeah, but each year it's held in a different country, starting in 2017, where it was first held in US. So I've been taking teams to Dubai, to Greece, to Singapore, to where else have we gone? To Switzerland. Last year we went to Panama. This year we are almost starting the plans. The location for this year is going to be announced on the 4th of March. So you can say robotics has really helped me to travel across the world. So that's the beauty of tech. You get to travel across the world. I see what other people are doing, and it's really inspiring. Like one of my favorite places is Amsterdam, like the airport. It's basically a smart airport. Everything smart. The dustbins. There's even like a robotic arm which can serve you coffee. It's really fascinating. So yes, robotics. So Benedict invited me so that we can have just a chat on robotics and AI. In terms of the slides, I didn't have much time to work on the slides, but we'll just focus on our conversation. So just looking at robotics, the impact it has, and looking at the modern global industry. One thing I usually really encourage global citizenship, like having that mindset where you view yourself playing a role in the global economy, and especially if you're into a tech person. I mean, you must whatever skills you're gaining, you must have that global mindset that with your skills you can be able to thrive anywhere global. You can be able to work and collaborate with people from various countries. So that's really important, having a global mindset, because our planet is huge. There's opportunities everywhere, and we have developed countries that are actually a step ahead in terms of robotics and the lessons we can learn from them. So yeah, the other thing is we're gonna look at the Africa robotics future, microcontrollers to AI, that evolution, sensors, actuators. So robotics can feel overwhelming. Robotics, especially I feel like in Africa, mostly when you talk about robotics, we are still getting there slowly but slowly. It's taking shape, but not so much. I don't think we have invested so much on robotics due to some maybe limitations in terms of infrastructure. But the truth is that robotics have become essential in manufacturing. Now, one thing, the world is all about manufacturing. From the moment you wake up, the time you sleep, you're powered by manufacturing. Mkate utakula is manufactured somewhere, factory, bread factory, the clothes you wear, the boats, everything depends on manufacturing. So when you talk about tech evolution, it's all about manufacturing, right? I hope you get my point. So our lives revolve around that, and the real essence of having AI, robotics, and all these technologies to power manufacturing and make our lives better at the end of the day. So when you talk about robotics, we must also talk about manufacturing, right? How is robotics helping us in manufacturing? In manufacturing, we have various industries. From the heavy industrial setups to small scale. And actually, right now, looking at the global robotics market, as indicated in this slides, we're looking at 16.7 million USD in 2026, and it's still growing, especially in the areas of logistics, healthcare, and service. We have robots being used in car assemblies and many other assembly lines. And they're also feeding robots helping fill critical skills in, we talk about manufacturing, but thing is that it helps improve efficiency and reduction in operational costs. And also there is a point of safety improvements. Robots help handle high risk tasks. Yeah, like there's a fire, and robots can penetrate high risk places. But going back, actually, robotics itself, we have many types of robots, right? Who might want to mention the robots, before I call names? Just unmute yourself and tell us a branch or a type of robot that you know. Yes. Someone is talking.
Okay, so on my end, I can give one type, that is the humanoid robots. Yeah, for
Perfect.
example,
Yeah.
I can give an example. So we have, for example, Tesla Optimus. Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. Thank you so much. Vivian, I'm just calling names that are appearing here. We have the Emma Franklin, Michael Lundi, Macron, Judith Ruto, Akinyi, Ferrell, Christopher Kiragu, and M. Yusra, who have mentioned, who wants to share. Yeah, industrial robots, correct. Two more, Shadrach, Rogers, Hughes, Miriam, Macreen, Joy Juma, Ian, service robots, correct. Ferrell, what? Einstein Junior. Hey, huyo Einstein kwanza ongee. You can't have such a big name and fail to answer. Einstein Junior. David Wafula. We have a lot of people. One more person, please. Farming robots, correct. Thank you. Military robots. Good. Nice. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Military robots, agricultural robots. That's correct. So I believe most of you guys are in uni, the place where you get to gain skills, experiment, and just work on your robotics career. And before we get to that, just focusing on Africa. That title, Africa presents untapped potential for robotics adoption. Let me just diverse kidogo, please, if you allow me. Now, we have a competition called Pan-African Robotics Competition, Pan-African Robotics Competition, or PAC. And it's for uni students, by the way. This year, Bados Dionwaki announced the plans, but last year, I managed to take a team from Zitech University, where I was, and their stages, right? And it's a very nice competition. It really challenges you. Sometimes we had to spend like entire weekends, 24 hours, 48 hours coding. So there were two tracks. There was AI track, where it was dealing with the general game was based on mining. So there was the AI track and the pure robotics track. So in the robotics, we are coding, programming and robot, agricultural robot, like real life robot, which can solve a problem, which is in those simulation. So they had that, which we're now coming up with the program so that we can go test. So the finals were held in Senegal, since the organization is based there, Dakar, Senegal. But before you get there were stages. So we ended up being the only team from Kenya that managed to go to Senegal. Sometimes manze to move around Africa is expensive than kutoka, because I think I was paying how much from one person, almost like 100K or something. Ethiopian Airlines. It's very expensive. Sometimes in Africa, West Africa, you have to go outside Africa, France will be crazy. And you can go to Malaysia with that 40K. Unazenda Malaysia na venye mbali na urudi. Anyways, we managed to go to Senegal for the finals. Real life robot. So before that, we have been running for simulation like in a gazebo, ROS. And the AI track guys were focusing on solutions. For example, one was from that competition, they have grown the idea. It's called Minor AI. You can search. So AI solution that can detect zile mines ambazo ziko dangerous and can collapse. So you see, there is now integration of AI and robotics. The two is hand in hand. AI and artificial intelligence and robots, because the robot already, definition of a robot, it's been what? It's basically simulating. What's the term? Yeah, simulating like a human being in a way. Okay, so artificial intelligence, robotics, they inseparable. So I was talking about the Pan-African robotics competition, and it was really intense. Kirudi tena lazima participate. It's going to push you like crazy. Itakupush. You realize what the things you can do and you not think you can do. So it's a very nice challenge for anyone who wants to gain skills. Real robotics. A real robot that can solve problem kwa farm. Like hiyo yetu ilikuwa, it can move kwa farm, do the mapping, there's a spray, what do you call them, pesticides and all that, can do spraying, there's identify crops that are rotten and all that, and most probably it's autonomous. Yeah. So I'm saying Africa presents a potential for robotics adoption, especially in agriculture. We're talking about precision farming. It's really serious, baby. It's not a joke. The people here in Kenya are using drones for spraying, huge drones. So they're happening, set it for new and we're able to address food security challenges. We improve yield, optimize resources. There's also educational expansion. Like is now education in robotics. We have competitions. As you can see, 42,000 African students participated in robotics in 2025. Infrastructure needs robotics for construction. There is that opportunity. So I mean, like these football fields, think a robot where you can create to do the marking. Yeah, the football field. If you can create such a robot to gain attention, you will get support, boom. And that's how you're going to grow. So even after this meeting, it's good we have just talked to just any other webinar, boom, we are back to our normal lives. Let there be a change. You guys can work in a group and just build a robot that solves a problem. Come up with a prototype. It will solve problems, man. There's so many problems you can solve. There's a term in India, 2024, exchange program, and I really loved the Indians uni watu wako serious. You need for prototyping. People on the outside class, they look at around them a problem they can solve. Using the resources they have, they come up with something, right? So after this webinar, challenge yourself. Find problem, come up with a solution. Yes, so microcontroller technology evolution. I don't think you're gonna spend so much time. Just try to focus on too much theory. But microcontrollers, we use them to mostly, power our robotics and IoT solutions. And right now, the key thing is that we're talking about AI capable microcontrollers. If we say Arduino, I think you've recently heard about the Arduino Q, right? A very powerful board with AI capabilities. So there's a can create a very smart robot or AI solution, integrate hardware and software, run some ML machine learning tasks on that board. That's why we're talking about microcontrollers, because they're integral in this world of robotics. Yeah. And they basically just enable us to have that computing power and be able to connect to hardware, right? Remember, at the end of the day, and this brings us to the next point. At the end of the day, we mostly deal with sensors and actuators. Now, sensors we have vision sensors, for imaging, perception, and all that. Tactile and environmental sensors, that can rate temperature, humidity. Motion sensors, especially when we're dealing with autonomous robots, autonomy, right? Gyroscopes, accelerometers, positioning sensors, LiDAR, GPS, okay? Actuators, motors. Then we're dealing with a lot of motors. So all these sensors, actuators, we connect them to microcontrollers most of the time. And now what we are saying is that recently we have very powerful microcontrollers, right? And mostly come in the form of boards. Arduino very popular. We have an ISP, Raspberry Pi, for example. Yeah. So things we can use to build solutions. Like you can build an entire robot arm using Arduino, and it works. Can do that. Very possible. Right? So that's what we're talking about. And IoT integration now. I think I also talked about Internet of Things. All these technologies in a way are connected at the end of the day. Talk about data science, IoT, what else? AI, under AI we have ML. So all these technologies get to what means they are connected. So I won't focus on that IoT part. Another thing is having real-time monitoring and remote control. Very important. Real-time data. Robots are able to transmit continuous telemetry via satellite and mesh networks. Very important. Remote operations. Okay. Now, a good example is space robots. We know in Mars we have had several Mars rovers like Said on a Perseverance, and it's able to moves around Mars. It's solar powered, of course. Moves around the planet Mars, collecting data and sending it back to Earth. Okay, data, and that data enables us to map the planet and help us make decisions when we plan for future missions, like how we're gonna go to Mars. So that means we need to learn, need to gain knowledge around how do we transmit data. Okay, how do we control such a robot remotely? So let us look at the next thing. I talked about agricultural robots. I think I've already talked about this point where drones are being used for precision agriculture. Talked about infrastructure robotics, enable safe and more efficient asset management. A good example is, having UAVs, manned aerial vehicles, drones basically, inspect areas, to, broken power lines, bridges, and pipelines for disaster response. Smart cities, construction automation. Most of this stuff I'm sure we are quite familiar with. We go back. Yes. So we are saying basically AI computer vision creates fully autonomous robots. Yeah, there's all this put here, but what I want us to focus on is actually the Q and A. I mean, I would want to hear your thoughts. What you think about robotics and AI. And if you have any questions about this area, I'm free to answer those because I want us to dedicate most of the time just one-on-one, right? Because slides between as a former and forget, but that one-on-one interaction is important. So Yes, let's just jump straight to the questions. Very curious to hear your reactions, what you have to say. So you can just have, if you're ready, you can just raise your hand. I'm going to give you a chance. You unmute yourself, ask the question. If you are not able to talk, you can just type in the chat box. We'll be able to respond. Yes.
Okay. Kevin, I guess maybe I can start while the audience is preparing. Maybe some questions. So, okay, basically, I'm sure, okay, here, there's someone maybe who was interested in knowing maybe more about sensors, actuators, and control systems. So, okay, briefly, if you can maybe say something about them so that, okay, for example, now the real beginner who has never heard of these particular terms before, you can maybe mention one or two so that they can maybe understand how what they mean actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you said sensor what and what?
Sensors, actuators, and control systems. So maybe you can mention
Sensors,
something about.
actuators, and control systems.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So sensors first. What are sensors? Sensors, just from the word sensing, are what mostly just find electronic components that are able to interact with the environment, collect data, raw data, and send that data to computer brains, right? So that's what the meaning of sensors. And we saw while I was presenting, we looked at the various classifications of sensors. Trying to go back that slide very quickly. Give me a second. All right, I'm going to the slide right now. There we go. Yes, so we did talked about sensor, different categories, vision sensors that deal with anything to do with vision. Whether it's thermal imaging, whether it's detecting color, those are vision sensors, right? Environmental sensors, very relatable. You know, in the environment, we gotta have to read about temperature, humidity, and so these are sensors that collect environmental data. So mostly you find sensors, it's raw data. You have to connect it to like a microcontroller to process it. Okay. Because some just read data in analog format. So it's gonna be like values, analog value like 100, 200, or 1000. But when you process that, it now makes sense to you as a user. So sensors basically track the environment around us, send information to the brain, the computer brains, which are now microcontrollers, microprocessors, right? Actuators. What is an actuator? When you talk about you said actuating systems, right? Conversion. So like motor, what are we converting? Electrical power to movement, right? And such movement is able to move like a robot forward, back, side, the sides. Talking about like various types of motors. In this case, like servo motors, stepper motors that, like in a robot arm, enables us to move, have precision movement. Okay? Pneumatic systems. hydraulic actuators. When you talk about hydraulic systems, best case hydraulic system is less than guys excavators are doing hydraulic systems to move that big those parts, those arms, right? So when you're talking about actuating systems, it's basically looking at the different actuator systems as categorized in this slide. If you can see that motors, pneumatic system, hydraulic, piezoelectric. And so what was the third one that you said, Benedict?
Okay. I also mentioned control systems. Am I clear?
Said control. Yeah, you talked about control
systems.
Control systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, control systems. How do we define control systems? Yeah. For that, yeah, we're just saying basically actuators and mechanical devices for converting energy, so to say. Control systems. So control systems, I'm trying to look at the best way to define control system, but even from the term control system, it's just a system that is able to perform mostly like a pattern autonomously. Okay. I'm trying to find the best way to kind of define that control system. Yeah, basically just how we are able to command the behavior of devices. I think that's a very good definition to achieve a desired output. That's what I'm finding. A system, control system manages, regulates the behavior of devices using control loops. That's what I was saying, repetition, to achieve a desired output. And that control system is actually made up of sensors and actuators. Okay? So, yeah, if you look at that, you will learn about the open loop system and closed loop systems. But in the industry, we find what we call the PLCs, programmable logic controllers. There's also other systems. So I'm trying to find a good example for beginners to relate to this. Let me see if you can find better example. Yeah. Like, okay, I think a better example would be a washing machine. A washing machine. The way the control itself, to wash, rinse, those processes, right? From the moment you just make a Mozako start, it repeats, follows some patterns until your cloth is clean. I don't want to overcomplicate the answer, but I hope it makes sense. Someone says, AI inafanya people to lose their jobs. How do you convince them otherwise? How can AI be imparted into these robots? Okay. AI inafanya people to lose their jobs. It's kind of true. It's like in Amsterdam, niliona robot ina serve coffee. I'm like, unafaa kwa mtu hapo job kama watu wawili watatu wana serve coffee. So in some countries, they don't really make sense in a way. So then that means redefining jobs. Maybe that would mean now your job is to repair that robot arm. So it's serving coffee, but now your job becomes more redefined, which means more demand for knowledge and skilled labor. So I mean, every evolution inakuja na mambo yake. Like say usema, we must in this century cannot run away from smartphones, right? Like the older generation, they had to catch up because it's automatic. People will tell you, and send it to you on WhatsApp. They never ask you whether you're on WhatsApp. They expect you to be on like online, right? So it forces you to adjust to technology. So the thing the history of those jobs, this generation now, that's where they must learn. That's why you have CPE. They must learn about what is needed in the future. Then for you guys, you're preparing for the future, what's coming. So that's why you're gaining skills so that utakuwa relevant for the job market. I hope that makes sense. How can AI be imparted into these robots? We talked about that. Now when you talk about AI, we have mostly AI enabled bots, control systems that will get to work with robots, because robot yenyewe ni a system. Kuna sensors, kuna actuators. So in between there's the brain, there's electronic brain, okay? There's the chips, computer chips. So we make them capable of handling AI tasks. Okay? Because I think this question is taking into so much details of redefining what AI is, the different fields for AI. But just think of how can we have a robot ambayo inaweza learn environment yake and I move without any human intervention. That's AI. Okay? Hope that makes sense. How can robotic concepts be applied within the fields of entrepreneurship and marketing? Okay. Entrepreneurship and marketing. Interesting. Like humanoid robots. I've seen that robots resemble people that can like inaweza tumika kwa like customer care. Hapa Kenya, Nairobi, we have a robots for some restaurant, robot cafe. So zinasaidia kuserve customers. So that I think that's entrepreneurship. Some just for entertainment. So it's only na depend. Kuna some countries already wameenda mbali sana in terms of robotics. Places like Japan, you'll see robots literally in your day life doing all sorts of crazy things in places you did not expect. So to answer your question, entrepreneurship and marketing, it's quite tricky, but also possible. Depending on the category of robots, if it's humanoid robots, they can be used in that sense. Yeah, so it's an area to explore. Actually, it's an area to explore. Now that you have asked about it, it's an area you can explore. Yeah. So do we have more questions coming in? The question nataka kuniuliza experiences hizi robotics competition or anything, just robotics, where to start and all that before we close the meeting. Because in a place where they are almost, unfortunately, they are almost closing. They would want us to wrap up before one chase away, but I wouldn't mind we plan another time and engage further. But for that, do we have any more questions coming in? Okay, I don't think we have anyone else. So thank you so much. Back to you, Benedict. Like I've said, I'm in a place where they're about to close, and I don't want they chase me come we have not officially closed. And I have to start to convince them otherwise. So I know it was short, but have another time to continue the conversation. There's still a lot to discuss. There's a lot of experience to share. But thank you so much for giving me this chance. Back to you.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin, for that presentation. Yeah, we actually appreciate your time here because, of course, you have a tight schedule, but you created the time for this. From my end, yeah, we'll actually interact more and we'll converse on how to do that. So okay, maybe I can mention something. Yeah, so I'll be giving you, yeah, for our speaker today, as he had mentioned, is Kelvin Gitau. When you go to LinkedIn, just type Kelvin Gitau, yeah, and you'll get it from there. Yeah, you'll find the first title that is appearing, it is Education Ambassador at TME Education. So that's now the correct one. So I can maybe mention something here so that I can clarify some things for beginners. So you've maybe seen something like actuators, for example. Let me just give something that can help you understand better. So actuators, basically, they enable movement. That's their key thing. Yeah, so they enable movement. For example, maybe in cars, you have motors, for example. Yeah, motors enable movement. Yeah, so that's it about actuators. Yeah, then we actually had some things that were highlighted somewhere. I hope maybe you saw it somewhere. We had computer vision. So maybe I can mention something small about computer vision. Okay, basically for computer vision, it's a part in that is artificial intelligence. So okay, artificial intelligence, that is AI, it's actually a broad field to venture into. So computer vision is now a field of it. And for this, it enables now machine to see, after seeing, interpreting, then understanding visual information from images or videos. So okay, for the case of humanoid robots, which had been mentioned even in our last webinar. So for the case of now the humanoid robots, of course now they need to use this computer vision so that the now humanoid robots in that particular case, they can be able to see the environment. And after now seeing, they need to of course interpret, because after now seeing, that is now like collecting information. Then the interpreting part is now understanding this information. Yeah, that is now for now interpreting, like knowing what this information will help them. And then after that is now they will now act. Yeah. So that's something I can say maybe about computer vision. On my end, that's it on the technical bit. So for our speaker today, Kevin, we would like to talk further about collaborating as well with TME Kenya. Yeah, that is TME Education. Yeah, then the first global robotics. Yeah, so we'll just talk about that so that we can see how we can move forward well, because you had mentioned competitions. Yeah, we have competitions, so we'll need that at particular stage, at a particular point in time. So I think we'll partner there so that we can know how we can move forward. Yeah, so for me, I hope the session has been actually okay. I hope I can give maybe someone or two to tell us like how the webinar has been before we close. Anyone? You can just raise your hand. Anyone with anything to say? Okay, no one. Okay, any question that you're still left with? Okay. On my end, I would like to invite you once again to our physical event that will be held on Saturday, yes, from 9 a.m. So kindly, let's come out, invite your friends as well. We'll be meeting in the business complex, BS10, most probably. Then it will start from 9 a.m. So I want you all there. Then we'll share more from there. Yeah, so that's it from my end. So we can call it a day. Have a nice time ahead and a good night. Bye bye. You can leave at your own pleasure.